Okay, so before we jump into Heartbreak, I need to know about your upbringing, who you were as a kid, where you grew up, all the things.
So I grew up in Miami, small town, not a lot happening there. It's only happened like once or twice that people are like, oh, Miami, Ohio. I'm like, no, no, Miami, Florida. And I think growing up there really kind of like truly molded me as a person in a way where I don't think people realize, because when people ask me about like being a Latina, I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you come from a place, I kind of compare it to like when you see your teachers at the supermarket and you're like, what are you doing here? Get back home to school. You live there. So, like, for Miami, I was like, this is the whole, that was my whole world. So I thought that the percentage of Latin people, that was like all over the world. And so when I think about, things I've experienced, or like whether it be an anger, pride, disappointment, heartbreak, joy, I've only experienced it around and with Latin people. But I just feel like growing up in Miami, there's a reason there are so many Cuban people. There's a reason there's so many Haitian people. There's a reason there's a lot of Guatemalan people. There's a reason there's a lot of Venezuelan people. So you're around a lot of people who have the courage to start again. And I think that really was something really influential to me too, because the idea of starting over again and getting up again was not foreign to me. You know what I mean? So there's a courage there, and there's a sense of I can do it too, that I grew up around, that I think definitely influenced me more than I realized as a kid.
As I like was watching your videos and reading your tweets, you are so comfortable with your feelings.
Yeah.
And it actually like pushes up against my fears in some way because I come from a family where they're not so comfortable with feelings.
Yeah.
It's the exact opposite. And I look at you with simultaneous admiration and fright.
Yeah. Me too. I like
Like,
Me
it's
too.
amazing. Like, so it's just natural for you? Yeah?
And I don't think it's natural. But the way that I approach things, I think it's because I was the oldest and my parents broke up when I was like in second grade. My mom immediately put me into therapy. And she put us all into therapy, but I think maybe I was the oldest that I took to it. When it came to feelings, I realized that like my feelings were getting hurt a lot as a kid.
Yeah.
And the only way to make me feel better was if I understood what somebody meant by that. And through like years going by, I understood that if I could get them to tell me what they meant in a way where they felt safe with me, that I would be able to navigate things better. And it started really, really young for me, like really young. Like I remember being in fifth grade and being like, I know sometimes that we get scared, but why did you scream at me during heads up, 7 Up? You know
So
what I
when
mean?
you're in relationship, do you find
Oh
yourself making excuses for your partner because you're really understanding where they're coming from?
no, I've had people be like, not everything has to be such a deep dive.
I'm the same. People
You
say the
know,
same thing to me.
like not everything has to be such a deep dive. And for me, I'm just like, but you don't understand. If I don't understand, then I have to accept that you're an asshole. You know what
If I don't know your why,
I don't
yeah.
know you why. And you have to tell me your why, because if you don't tell me your why, I have to accept that I've wasted a year on an asshole. It's only with age that I realized um everybody has a why, but
Yeah.
not everybody treats me like shit. So that was really fucked up for me to think about for a while. I was like, why would you come to that truth, Tefi? And I was like, I don't know, I'm really pissing myself off. But a lot of people have nobody has a perfect story, right? Like everybody has their issues. Like everybody has something in their lives that molded them, whether they liked it or not.
Yeah.
We've all had terrible things, but I don't think I would ever be able to hurt somebody in the way that other people have chosen to like hurt me. You know what I mean?
That's a really hard thing to accept.
Yeah. I think also something that young people think, and I wish I could shake it out of them,
What do you
but it is
mean?
a young thing, that you'll be the lesson and they'll treat the next person better. It is such a farce. It is such a lie.
Yeah.
There is one thing in a person that I believe is like a stain. It's like bleach on clothing. And no matter how much time has passed, that will always remain, especially the longer it's left to like fester. If you meet a man in their late 20s, early 30s that is selfish, you're looking at a selfish man.
What
Period.
age do you think that's? Because I agree with you, but I think when you're young, like 18, 19, people are still growing into themselves.
Right.
I think if you meet a man at 35,
That
he
is
is,
selfish.
he is
Yeah.
who he is.
That is it. That person is done loading. I want to say because of the brain development from a
Yeah.
biological point of view, maybe 25. But if I met an
That's really
18,
young.
it's really young, but that's when your frontal lobe stops developing,
You
right? That's how you see
think?
the world. I know, I Googled it. I
Because
know.
I had like the breakup that like obliterated my heart. And I've learned through therapy, it was really more about like the breakup. It wasn't so much him. It was like it brought up a lot of inner child stuff for me that I hadn't known or worked on. But
Mhm.
that breakup, he started dating a person living in my building, which was wild.
Oh, out of all the fucking people.
Out of all the, and
That's
I
what
live in like a
tell my
small
ex all the
building.
time.
It
I was
was
like, do you know
so
how many people
wild.
in the world I don't know? I literally say that. I'm like, there are so many people in the world I don't know. You couldn't have picked one of them.
Why in my 16-person unit did you pick her? It was like a little too coincidental, but whatever. So the
Mhm.
point is, I said to my therapist, like, she seems like I've seen her in the elevator. She actually seems like young and really nice. Like, I hope it changes for her. And my therapist was like, don't count on
Babe,
that. I was
no.
like, what do you mean? Maybe it was me. Maybe we brought out, bad things in each other. And she was like, she just
No.
accepts whatever limitations he had. Her limitations match up with his limitations. It just works for her, but nothing has changed. I was like,
I always say that. I always say, like, whenever I see somebody with like a younger person or a person less experienced, I'm like, it would take them, like, I always think about people who are with these like older stars, right? There's
yeah,
a reason they go for these like 22-year-olds. One, they won't say, oh my God, you have a fucking drinking problem. It is 9 in the morning. Why the fuck are you drinking? Like, why are you putting whiskey in your fucking coffee? A
yep.
19-year-old, 20-year-old goes, he's so spontaneous, he's so fun. And
And doesn't
that
have enough experience to know that that's not right.
that's not right. Because if they did it, if when you said like 18, 19-year-olds are selfish, if I met an 18, 19-year-old that wasn't, I would be so concerned.
Mm.
There's a time in your life to be so selfish, but I feel like with a partner, there's a difference between being selfish and taking advantage and or not suffering consequences. So being selfish, for example, you could have a boyfriend of a year in college, but I hope you go to that study abroad in Barcelona. That's selfish of you. You're not thinking of other people, you're thinking of yourself. And that's important. That's important. You know what I mean? I think there's a part of me that sees a little selfishness in other people, and I recognize it because of it within myself. I just don't think, I think as I get older, I'm starting to differentiate the kind of selfishness that I'm looking for. And the kind of selfishness that I'm looking for is for your own personal development, you know what
Mm-hmm.
I mean? And your peace of mind. You know what I mean? Like if I invite you to a party and you're like, no, I got to take care of myself. I have an early class tomorrow and I want to take care of me. Fine, be a stick in the mud, whatever. I'll see you on Friday. But if it's something where it's like, I, if you're a man and I buy you a dress shirt and then you go on a date wearing it behind my back with somebody, like that is a selfishness that like I can't unteach you.
Yeah.
And I've had many exes that I've taken back. I'm never somebody to not give somebody a second chance, you know? Like I
Yeah.
think that idea of like now he's going to be the person that I've always wanted him to be for somebody else has like plagued me a lot. And it's funny because they may have sworn up and down that they are different. And I might see some real differences. Maybe this person doesn't party anymore. Maybe this person doesn't drink anymore. Maybe this person, has proven to me time and time again they deleted their dating apps, whatever the fuck it is, you know? But there are certain ways that like selfishness creeps up in ways that you could never erase. Like coming home with food and not asking you what you wanted. You know what
Well,
I mean? Like things like
it's like
that.
a bomb. It's abominable.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
a
They
small
come up with
thing.
things. Yeah, or like I talked about it on TikTok, like ordering food for everybody, like for you and him, and then like them not cleaning up and being okay with your place being a mess. Like there are little things that I'm like, it's too deep rooted. Or and I've had friends also tell me like, oh my God, but like he's gonna be this person. And I was like, he might be terrible, but he deserves to be with somebody. Let's say he does change. He deserves to be with somebody that'll see him with fresh eyes, and you don't respect him anymore. You
Right.
mommy him, but you don't respect him. And I don't know if it's worth the paranoia of it, because for the rest of your life, you're going to be wondering, who is he at dinner with? Did he go to dinner? Why didn't he text me goodnight? Who is he with? Like those things are not worth it. So he could change, but he ruined it. It's, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't matter,
Well, I
you
want
know?
to ask you actually about, you just said you mommied him.
I do.
Um,
I mommy everybody. I
well,
mean that I
it's something that I've seen you talk about a lot. You've said, I want to read the exact thing. It says, one of your deep posts on TikTok, you wrote, women are forced to face themselves. They're forced to parent their partners. And you feel like that's actually why a lot of your past partners have resented you.
yeah,
Well,
for
I
sure.
want to understand better what you mean.
I think there is a moment in time where men think I want a woman just like my mom.
I think they almost all do subconsciously.
Yeah. Even if they hate her, even if
Yeah.
they hate her, it's just a case of familiarity. Like maybe
Yeah.
how people say like you find your father in everyone. I don't know if that's necessarily true, but there are traits about my dad that I definitely look for. I don't you would never have to babysit my dad, for example, at a party. Like you can leave him to do his own thing and people come back and they're like, what, he's so funny. You know what I mean? Like my dad's that kind of guy. So I do look for that in other people. But I feel like there will always be a sense of she'll take care of it. And I feel like when I start, especially at a young age, if you start dating really young, you find yourself kind of falling into that thing like, look how much easier your life could be if I was with you. Like, look how comfortable you are. And what I didn't realize is that men didn't see that as like, oh, I have to take care of this. Men saw that as a starting point where it's like, oh, I don't even have to try, and look how good she is to me. Like men did not see that as something that they had to, like something precious that they had to like water and nurture. They
And you
just
feel
saw
like
it.
that's important for them?
Absolutely. Who doesn't want to be excused? Who doesn't want to be like viciously babied, viciously? I remember one time this person said to me, oh my God, you're just like my fucking mom. And I said, who the fuck wants to fuck their son? Like, shut the fuck up, So, and it's also like, I'm also a fucking kid. I'm
Yeah.
the same age as you, or maybe like 2 years less. You don't think I want to be fucking babied beyond like taking me to dinner? Like, I can take me to dinner, but
Right.
I've shown you time and time again how like comfortable I can make your life. You have shown me only the ways you have made my life harder.
Yeah.
So when I say like momming somebody, I mean like, are you okay? What do you need? See, I remembered. Oh, I love that. See, I remembered. Oh, you can count on me. And for some reason, I don't know if dependability is also like a muscle. I like to say confidence is like a muscle. I don't
It
know
is.
if dependability or reliability is a muscle, but I for sure
I think
let
it is. It's a habit.
it is a habit. That quote, how you do one thing is how you do everything, drives me fucking nuts. Because if I showed you my apartment right now, you would think I was squatting. I have so many packages that a delivery guy, my Uber Eats driver, said, "Happy moving. I've been here for 2 years." That's how
So
that's
I
how
sort of feel like that quote haunts me as well, because you're a person of excellence.
I
I
try.
strive for, yeah, I strive for excellence too. My life is not excellent in every area. It's impossible.
Right.
So I hate
Did,
that quote too.
did you also have an eating disorder?
Yeah, when I was younger,
Yeah,
in eighth grade.
perfectionism is a drug. If I could put control into a pipe, I
Yeah.
would smoke it to the filter. Okay. But that's something else that my therapist told me about people who have EDs instead of nourishing ourselves, we nourish others because at least then we're busy, and that really fucked me up. I know. It's like I'd rather avoid I and also dating gives us an excuse to be in control of our appearance, So
No, what do you mean?
like getting dressed, getting ready, going to the gym, looking cute, like putting in extra effort or whatever. There's certain ways that people with EDs like we cover things, like I used to tell people all the time I was training for a marathon and that's why, I wasn't doing that or I was doing too much of this or whatever. I used to tell people I enjoyed just walking to work, but I had like, my calorie counters and stuff. We all cover things up. So when people are like, oh, like taking care of my body or like working out too much, I'm like, well, I'm dating again. I don't want to gain the extra weight. Like for me, like dating was
Yeah.
something I could hide. I could hide behind my partner. Instead of talking about me, I could talk about how exciting dating was, how I met somebody,
Wait, you
everything.
don't like talking about you?
If I'm actively like avoiding nourishment or like taking care of my body, like if I'm slipping into old habits,
Yeah.
I'm talking to you about everything else.
Well, that's
Or my
fascinating.
friends will know when I'm avoiding them because people that you don't know, you could talk about whatever and they think this is just you. But
Right. They
your
don't
real
know.
people, you sit down and like, bitch, what the fuck is happening? Like, what's going on? They know. You sit down, you're like, yeah. And they're like, what's going on? And I'm like, I'm losing control. I'm losing control. So there's a part of me also where I think with dating, it's hard because you tell people these things. Like
Mm.
you share your hurt with people, and then they hurt you. And you're like, I told you. Like I told you. And so like for for men, whatever, for your partner, if they told you like a trigger of theirs, like let's say they got cheated on with their ex's coworker.
Yeah.
Me, I would make it an extra effort that they met all my coworkers, that they knew all the office gossip. I wanted them to feel as comfortable as possible.
Right.
For men, you could say, like my ex was always on dating apps. And they're like, they'll go home and download Tinder. They're just so far removed from like I don't know what investment means to men or like there's a lot of selfish women and a lot of selfish but non-binary people too. It's just that the only people truly broken my heart are just men, you
Right.
know?
I also
So
think potentially they're wired differently because it is a whole different level. Even good-hearted people, I think men
I
are just a little bit more selfish. They come at it from a different angle to begin with. Yeah, I agree with you.
it's a selfish angle. It's a selfish angle. I'm trying to share myself with somebody. You know what I mean? I'm trying to share a life with you. I want you to meet my family. I want you to share memes with my brother. I want you to, read my birthday cards from my grandfather. I want my aunt to make her famous charcuterie board for you. It's fantastic, you know? But men are just like, they want to make sure that they are still validated. They're obsessed with validation.
But I think it's really like I think we have really multi-pronged wants and needs, and for them
Yeah.
it feels like it's sex, food, and ego.
Yeah, and then they wonder why we
Face it.
think about them so like prehistorically. And I'm like,
Well,
yeah, but also like how would you it would hurt my heart to live my life knowing that you were this multidimensional person and I
just
just never
didn't know.
and you didn't find me either worthy or you didn't share that with me. But
Yeah.
then I go to sleep and I'm like, we always think about the things that we could have done. Like I had a boyfriend once that used to come home at like 7 in the morning and he used to come home so fucked up and I would like scream at him. It'd be a huge fight. And I look back and I'm like, why didn't I bolt the door? Why didn't I let that motherfucker sleep outside? Like a consequence. Because I thought the consequence was disappointing me. That didn't mean anything to him. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? And then I also tell myself because that's not you. You would never let anybody sleep outside with nowhere to go in the winter. That's just not within.
And is that something you like about yourself?
I love that about me. That's why I
So
end these relationships. You're not going to change that about me.
that's the key, right?
I would go on these dates after these like tremendous heartbreaks. I've had like three tremendous heartbreaks in my life,
Yeah.
and be like, "You're so brave. like one of my relationships didn't work out. And I'm like, I wonder who. Like, I look just like him. And she's like, and I was never brave enough to get back out there really. And you just really pick
Um,
yourself up and you go out. And I'm like, I leave before they take that from me. I know a lot of people who are really bitter. I know a lot of people
but you
who
can
are,
always get it back.
you can always get it back, but it's expensive.
Yes, it is. It's expensive emotionally and financially, potentially.
Babe, you can be like, I could date somebody for a year. Who's to say they won't date somebody in my building? I'm not doing that shit again.
But
You know what I mean?
do you really have control over it?
Exactly. But the only thing I have control of, the only thing that I have control of in my life is how I make people, is how I love people. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So I have had heartbreaks in my life where I have walked around Central Park in a robe and slippers, open, open mouth crying. Yeah. I looked like SpongeBob's grandma. I
Oh,
opened
that's real heartbreak.
on the phone with my mom, and she says later, I would talk to her like every hour on the hour for days. And my mom later told me I didn't understand a word that you were saying. It was hysterical. I've had heartbreaks where my cousins have to fly in to ensure that I'm eating. You know what I mean? I've had heartbreaks where I leave the country for like months, you know? And but I've always, even though it broke my fucking heart, I was always the one to say, so even though they said, I'll never love you this way, technically I'm always the one to leave, but it's not out of nowhere. Like I'm not like this mysterious, like I'm not this person that leaves like a letter on the bed saying like, I'll see you in a dream or something. No, I leave right before I feel like you're about to imprint on me, like you're about to mold me into somebody fearful. And I can't do that because if you
Mm,
take that from me, I can't be happy for my friends who fall in love. I can't be happy for my siblings. You know how nice it is to see your siblings in love like that? To see somebody love your siblings or see them not the way that you see them, but cherish them or feel like they're irreplaceable the way that you feel. That's such a gift. I tell that to my siblings all
it
the time.
is.
I love seeing you guys in love. I see, however, to my brother, I'm like, I see, however, you get her a glass of water whenever she asks. That kind of hurt a little bit. I've been asking you for 32 years, but that's okay. You know what I mean? But like, there's a point about loving love because you
Mm-hmm.
meet people. I know, and we go through it when we're going through breakups too, where you see people in love and you're like, he's cheating on her. I don't want to be like that.
No.
It's gonna end. Or like you see an old guy and you're like getting flowers, and like it's probably for his mistress. I've had friends like that. And I'm like, you need to talk to somebody
Yeah.
because
Well, I guess you bring up two things. One is it sounds like you refuse to betray yourself, which I think is really valuable.
Mhm.
But two, you refuse to let someone bend your spirit.
I just feel like I fought so hard for it. The reason I am the way that I am is because at one point I was not, you know? And there
Yeah.
are there are ways every day that we betray ourselves. There are little ways every day that we don't act to our best interest, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, maybe it's because I'm a Cancer, maybe it's because I'm Latin, maybe it's because I'm a woman, but I do believe in the idea of a tribe, of a village, of a community, right?
Yeah.
I always tell people if the people who love you the most and have nothing to gain from your unhappiness are telling you that you can do better, I think you should listen. They have nothing to gain. You know what I mean? So when it comes to my mom or like my exes, when I'm ready to break up with somebody, I tell them everything. I sit down and I'm like, you have to help me leave this man. You have to help me, whoever it is.
Oh,
You
you
have to,
tell your people.
I tell my people because you can't put
Oh,
that.
that's so hard because there's no unwinding that.
There's no unwinding that. So it gets to the point then where if I see them again, and of course I I have to sit with that feeling of I betrayed them. I betrayed the people who were on the phone with me when they couldn't understand me.
Oh
I
my
betrayed
God, my head's exploding,
them.
Tefi.
I betrayed them. So because it's easy to betray ourselves, we can forgive ourselves. You know what I mean? Over and over again. But when your mom calls and she's like, "How was your weekend? I miss you." And you know that you're like, this woman this woman has listened to me. She was there for me. She did everything. I can't tell her. And my mom does this thing too. It's a little mafioso, but it really works where she'll sit me down. She's done it in a couple different ways, but the most recent way was I want you to know it could be 10 years down the line. You could get back with this man. You could have
Mhm.
children with this man. I will never see those grandchildren. I will never see those grandchildren. I will never speak to you again. I cannot bear to see you with somebody who doesn't know what
Wow.
you are. And I'm like, bitch, it is day 2 of the breakup.
Yeah.
Like,
Not day 102.
but it's also important for me too that she comes here and she sees me because
Mm,
then she reminds me. She's like, "Do you know what you were like?"
yeah. Because we
Or
don't see ourselves when we're in that state.
I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, "You look like a White Walker,"
Uh-huh.
you
I know
know?
it always shows up physically.
Always.
So
Always.
you said you've had 3 heartbreaks. I think there's different kinds of heartbreak.
Mhm.
Um, you can break your own heart. There's family heartbreak. There's romantic heartbreak. When I say heartbreak, what comes up for you immediately?
I think heartbreak, I think being in love is feeling like a kid again, and being a kid again feels vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I think of heartbreak, I think of being a teenager because that's really what love feels like. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
hate the reason I love I love astrology. I love all of the occult. I love all of it. You know what I mean? I love prayer. I love when people are like, "Oh, I don't believe in God or whatever." I'm like, "I don't care. My sister's atheist. I rock with that bitch. I think we're gonna go to the same place." But it would just be lonely for me, you know? And I
Yeah.
like the idea of life having magic to it. And little things like being in the mood for ice cream, and then you are walking and you see an ice cream shop, you're like, "Oh my God," like things like that. I like the magic in
Me
life.
too.
And when you're in love, life does feel magical.
What a beautiful way of describing it.
It feels like a gift. You talk to people about heartbreak and
Kid.
love and say the same thing. No, this is different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you feel like it's
No one
so
could possibly understand.
yeah, it's unique. It's like you
Yeah.
like nobody like I understand you've been heartbroken. Like I look at my mom and she's like, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. She's like, I had 3 children. I was married. And I was like, "Yeah, that's cute, but you don't understand. That's sweet,
You don't
mom.
understand what I'm going
Not
through.
you don't understand." So, there's that thing where it's like
Yeah.
you and the people that you are during those, like, 400 heartbreaks or whatever, they're different people, and I told my ex, like, "I miss her. I miss the person that I was. I like who I am, but
Mhm.
that girl, I'm never gonna know her again because you put me through things that I probably didn't have to learn." You know what I
I've
mean?
never heard anybody talk about that.
She was so protective of me. She waited to date, like she found a guy that she really liked. She waited to like sleep with him. She was really, really confident. She knew that she was smart and that she was funny. And you took her from me, you know? You took her from me. So now I have to do that all over again.
And
But
I'm never going to be that person again.
never. I'll never be that little 27-year-old girl so excited to meet up with you because I felt something and I thought, okay, like he's really nice. He calls his mom all the time. Like that person was trying to protect
Mm.
me and I let her down. You know
I'm
what I
like
mean?
so emotional hearing you say that. There's like I think so much grief wrapped around that.
It is grief. It's mourning, but people are like, oh, everybody mourns a relationship. I'm like, no, I'm mourning
Yeah.
the hope I had, the hope, the
And the version of yourself.
I think I wanted magic so bad that or I was so used to everybody having a little bit of magic that I may have made it up for you a little bit where you were lacking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that she did that for like I'll look at somebody like I love that she did that for you. But another thing that you took from me when you cheat on somebody or when you betray somebody is I've never met a woman that I didn't want to be fucking friends with. I meet a woman and I'm just like, this could be my friend. And now for the next few months, I'm gonna meet new people and wonder if they're your fucking type. You turned women. You made me turn my back a little bit for women so I can heal when I
And
could be my
even like question my friends. Yeah.
were you attracted to my friends? Did you flirt with my friend? And I feel like there are some friends that there's some partners that definitely did, and some partners that definitely did not.
Yeah.
And I know my friends would never. But um they, my friends say something, they're like, we trusted him with you. And that really hurt me.
Yeah.
because I trusted him with me too. And there are people that you think about, there are people that you hear that the way that they treat their friends, the way that they treat their family, the way that they talk about their friends, the way they talk about their exes. When you're young, you just think it's so nuanced, and it's
Yeah.
not. It is not nuanced. It is, those people are just normal, everyday people. You know what I mean? Like the way that this guy, like one of my partners, would talk about all of his friends' success, almost like they didn't deserve it. I'll never forget that because one day he woke up. We were sleeping together, and he woke up and he said, "I had a nightmare." And I was like, "What was your nightmare?" And he was like, "I had a nightmare that you were on SNL." And I was like, "That's a weird thing." And then when I got signed to UTA and there was an announcement on Variety, he messaged it to me on WhatsApp, and we haven't spoken in years.
Yeah.
"Look at where you are now. Remember how poor you were?" And I was like, "I was never special. I was just not successful. And that made me perfect for you. You were always the one that was more successful than me at that point." Oh, I went off. I texted my mom, then she goes, "Say this." I'm like, "Mom, I can't say that."
Also, you were never poor, you were maybe broke.
Exactly. I was beginning, and now I realize, oh my God, I wasn't special. I wasn't a safe place. I was just
Oh my God.
comfortable. I was easy. And I was younger, and I just moved to New York, and he had been here his whole life. So like he could show me things. I always say that to girls when they're going on dates, just let him teach you something. Ask him about his interests and then ask one thing about it and let him talk, and he'll be obsessed with you. Men love to teach you things. You know what I mean?
And to show you new stuff.
Oh, they love it.
They
They love it. Love
really
it.
do.
Love it.
Like, oh, this restaurant is incredible. I've never been here.
Have you heard of this vegetable? It's called eggplant. No. Like, oh my God. Like it's so, but if you were to do something better, I feel it's weird because this one person I dated for a little bit, I would show him things, and then I went through his phone, and he
Mhm.
would send girls the songs I would send him and the memes I would send him. And I was like, this girl doesn't even know she's dating me.
That's
Like,
it. And it's because he had no originality. He took on your personality.
nothing. I've also dated people who
Oh,
were intimidated by me, and I didn't realize, and they thought the only way that they could hold my attention was fighting with me. So I would
mm,
sit down and be like, I'm a terrible like I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And then it took like my friend to sit me down and be like, the only time he has your full attention, you're so busy, is when you guys are fighting and he's ringing it in. And if heartbreak is normal and heartbreak is part of life, I get it.
mhm.
But I think in the future, your standards change every fucking heartbreak. Your standards change. I always say standards are your neighborhood, and boundaries are your fencing. Standards are where you live, and the fencing to your house are your boundaries. So, you know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
a standard for me is I'm monogamous. That's a standard for me. I don't want to be in a poly thing, and everybody who wants that should be with somebody that wants the same thing. And I don't want to get in the way of you finding that. You know what
But
I mean?
also, don't lie to me and tell me
But
you want to be monogamous.
don't lie to me and tell me you just don't want me to see anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's usually what it is. And oh my God, you know how many times I've met a guy that's like, I'm in an open relationship and she isn't? I'm like, you're so,
No. They
yes.
say
New York,
that to you?
New
It's
York is
happened to me a bunch, but not like they don't say it.
on Raya. I'm like, all of you motherfuckers are married.
A lot of them, there's a
All,
whole thing with girlfriends.
all of them. All of
My
them.
ex was on Raya like the whole time we were in a relationship. I had no idea.
Can I tell you, it's for friends and networking.
No, I didn't even know like he was on it.
People swear. My mom has a saying, to lie to my face is to call me an idiot. And I'd be like, "Why are you on this app?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm looking for casting for the." You're looking for casting? And
Ooh.
what is part of the casting process showing them your dick
Oh.
and in an apartment you don't pay rent for? It's like my apartment. Like, I get it, the lighting's great, but no.
Right. No.
Yeah.
Well, I read that you said hurt people, which is a common phrase, but you said that sometimes the only way people know they exist is if they hurt people.
There's a moment where people realize that they're not special. you know? And I think it
What
happens
do you
with men
mean?
more. There's a moment where a man realizes he's not going to be a rock star. He's not going to be the Wolf of Wall Street. He's not going to be this pro athlete. He's just a person. And I feel like women, for us, it's different. It's like the friends we have, where we live, the clothes we wear, like those things are more statusy. You know what I mean? Than for
Oh,
men, it's like an ego thing, like the status for men is different. It's different. And there is a moment where men realize I'm not special. You know, I'm just a regular guy with a regular job, with a regular apartment. And I think that's fine, but for them, it's not. And I think there
mm,
are people in the world, including women. I know a lot of women who go this route too for different reasons, but they realize that if they are the main character in their movie and no one's going to watch it, they rather be the villain or they rather be the victim. They rather be pitied and they rather be hated than not be seen at all. And those people are the people where we confuse and we're like, oh my God, he's mean to everybody but me. Or like, I'm the only one that understands her. I'm the only one that's there for her. They designed it that way. You're now the supporting character in their movie that they've been writing for years. Like the person that,
mm.
runs away, traveling everywhere alone, post about like being alone and whatever. They want it that way. They knew that here they were just a regular person, but they had to create this like idea of them.
So they carved this out.
They're a voyager, you know what I mean? They're brave. They're or a girl who just like she just can't get it together and like poor. Have you ever met somebody that can't stop dating shitty people?
Mm-hmm.
If they didn't date shitty people,
Who would
wouldn't they
they
have like
be?
a
What's the
regular job
story? What
and
do they talk about at dinner?
how somebody fucked them over?
Oh,
How
I've
s-
never thought about this. This is interesting.
but I think um there's courage in being normal. There's courage in normalcy.
There's a lot of courage in normalcy and consistency.
The courage to be who you are.
So I saw on Twitter in September of 21, you said you went through a pretty public breakup and you said, I'm trying so hard to be graceful about this. This is the worst heartbreak of my life.
Yeah.
Please stop DMing me and all this other stuff. I, first of all, kudos to you. I don't know how you went through a public breakup. I have like so much love for you. It's so hard to go through it at all, let alone publicly.
Thank you.
How did the heartbreak leave you? Because I think it manifests differently for
Uh-huh.
depending on what your childhood wounds are. I think it can
Uh,
leave you feeling unlovable. It can leave you feeling insecure. It can leave you feeling empowered. Like there's all these different ways heartbreak can leave you.
there is something that a lot of people don't know, and a big reason that I was quiet about it was because there was a lot of stuff that was pretty private. It wasn't my story to tell. The
Mm-hmm.
reason why we had really not worked for so long, and it was rooted in like addiction and like substance abuse. And I didn't think I thought it'd be tacky to like talk about that when it affects like someone's whole family and like all this stuff and whatever. And but second of all, there was a point in my relationship where it got very clout chasey. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to drive any traffic. I wasn't going to do it. So there was a point where I was like, this person loves being my partner, but I don't think they love me necessarily. They love the way that I love them. They love the way that I show them off. They love that people who support me and interact with me and follow me um, view us. But I don't. But we would be in a room together, and he wouldn't speak to me. He'd be like on his phone the whole time, going through his DMs, going through like his photos, seeing what he could post, a lot of selfies. And so when we broke up, I was like, I'm not driving any traffic to you. I'm not telling anybody anything. I'm going to be really, really quiet about it. I'm not going to do you any favors. I'm not going to give you a platform because the last thing I'm going to do is give a man a platform where he can talk about me.
Yeah.
Zero. 100%.
But what does
So
it feel like to feel like I actually don't think I did feel that once where I dated somebody and I didn't feel like they actually loved me
mhm.
after, because you guys were together for a good amount of time.
We were, and some of it was good and some of it was Nightmare on Elm Street, but it was like it was just a lot of there was a lot of stuff that I was unprepared for. There was a lot of stuff I was unprepared for. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't have experience with, and I guess when somebody says, "Oh, I'm only like this when I'm fucked up," and then you're like, "But you're fucked up all the
All the
time."
time.
So I think this might be you. And I think that they liked that I don't have anything like that in my family, so they knew I was gonna if I had now, if that happened to me, I would say either get help or leave. But at
Yeah.
that point, I had to have no experience in that, so I was like, "Come in, let's talk about it, what's going on, whatever." And I was just more empathetic
It's
toward
even hard to identify sometimes.
No, there's a point where I was like, "Ah, I'm fucked." Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there was
Who knew?
And I think in the beginnings of things, like, you're just getting fucked up all the time, you're going to dinner, you're having a bottle of wine, you're doing this, you're doing that, you're going out all the time, Friday night. But I remember just it was like getting in the way of someone and their vice was
Mhm.
like being mauled by, like, a tiger. Like, there was an anger there. Like, there was like, there's a switch that happened. Like, if you were to deny them or if you were to restrict them in any way, or even the word sobriety gets popped
Mhm.
up, it was like a tiger. I think that relationship taught me a lot about how much I'm willing to take, and I'm really proud of myself that I had the patience to love someone like that.
Mhm.
But and I'm happy to have seen my bandwidth, but I don't ever want to be stretched that far ever again.
Mhm.
And publicly, you know, um, it was hard because there were people who were supporting me, and then I would go through his phone and they'd be like, "Hit me up when you and Tefi break up." So I don't think I'm ever yeah, and I went on my page and I DM'd them and I was like, "I know what you're sending this person. You're disgusting. You're, like, vile." And I
Yeah.
blocked them. But I think that was one thing too where it's like the support the support that I would get if I talked about it, I could go viral for that. I could talk about, a bunch
Yeah.
of different topics within that breakup. I could talk about, dealing with somebody who's angry, dealing with somebody who's like has substance abuse, or dealing with heartbreak in general, dealing with like somebody cheating on you, like whatever. There's a lot of stuff I could have talked about, but the support would be so cheap. The support would be so cheap. It just wouldn't be that's not what I wanna be supported for. I'm not like this weak person. I know what I'm
Agree
doing.
with
I can handle it. And there are things that I learned that relationship that I can tell you about without having to tell you about it, you know?
I actually think this is tangential, but I often think about um, like the longevity and health of influencers.
Mhm,
And that distinction you made is it, because it's so beautiful when you like the whole point of a great speech is somebody teaches you something without you having to learn the lesson yourself. Like that is the mark of a great book, a great speech, a great something like a great podcast.
mhm.
But if you're processing it while we're learning with you, there's no lesson there.
No, it's just a,
It's
um,
cheap.
it's performative.
Do you
Mhm.
think that women experience heartbreak differently than men?
Yeah, I literally, when I was going through my last breakup, I said, "I have to say goodbye to these children I've imagined in my mind."
Mm,
I have to say bye to them, you know? And for a woman, there is this timer. Now we have like all these advancements, whatever, but I don't want to freeze my eggs. I don't want to, like and it sounds fantastic. And maybe, I think that women can have babies later, but there is when we broke up, I was like, I'm probably not going to have kids till I'm like 37 now, maybe if I do.
mhm.
And there's that clock. Men can be 70 something, but you're saying goodbye to like an era in your life
Mhm.
that only fits like a certain thing if you want children.
Yeah.
That's how I know I'm in love too. Like right now, if children happen for me, that's amazing. What a blessing. And if they don't, that's okay. You know what I mean? Like I don't think it would be detrimental to me. When I'm in love, I want to give somebody a baby really bad, you know?
Yeah.
So there was that point where I looked at him and I was like, it's hard. Like you wanted a family so bad, and like you wanted a family for the first time ever, like a functional family. And my family is very functional and like very normal and boring in the best way.
Mhm.
And so I was like, I gave you something that you were looking for, and you used it against me. You know what I mean? Like you took the normalcy and the foundation that you were looking for in someone for, and you jumped on it. You wanted to see if it could crack. And I told you that, and I'd say this to all my partners, I will leave. You think I won't. And I know there's going to be a point where you think, oh, she can handle anything. I will leave. I will go. And then they never believe me when I'm like, no, it's done, you know? So there's
I
definitely,
think that's actually a gendered difference. I think
that's what, yeah.
women will like they'll endure a lot, but once they're gone, they're gone.
Maybe there's a part of us too where even if we have children or not, the idea of having to protect a child from someone doesn't
Mm,
mean it to me anymore.
that's
You
interesting.
know? Like, it's that, like, instinctual thing. For me also, I have to be with someone I'm proud of. If I'm no longer proud of you, I can't do it. And it's not an admiration thing. You could be a fucking carpenter. I don't fucking care. You could be a cashier
Mhm.
at Target. I don't give a fuck. But it's something about character, about doing the right.
Totally.
My mom says kind people are still kind even when it's hard. You know, like that's something that I really, really admire in people because it's so easy for me to be nice to you. But if you looked at me and you were like, well, everybody thinks you're really stupid, I
Mhm.
would fucking look at you like I'd be so, but I would need to like dig deep and be like, I'm really sorry you feel that way. You know what I mean? Like that's something I admire in people, you
My
know?
friend is a divorce attorney
Oh,
and
wedding crashers. I
yeah.
think
She got married and her husband, they were at the altar and her husband like previously had asked her, she put this in her vows. Her husband asked her like, you see all these people for years getting divorced, you're in the thick of it with them. What have you garnered? What have you learned? Like what advice can you give us as we move towards marriage? And she said the one thing that she said to him was, you need to marry somebody who not only does the right thing for you, but does the right thing for everybody.
yeah.
Deep in heartbreak, I would find myself Googling like how to feel better. And I knew I wasn't going to find anything, but I just like, I was doing all the things. I trained for a triathlon, I did
Everything.
therapy. Like I was
All of
being so proactive about the heartbreak. I didn't want to sit in it.
no.
And I'm wondering if you have found anything that you can share that you think actually helps.
You gotta sit in the shit. I've been avoiding it. I avoid it all the time. I drove into work and my mom fucking my mom said, "Everywhere you go, you will follow." You
Your
can
mom
you
sounds so wise.
She is so annoying. Enough. Stop it. With the
Stop
wisdom.
being right, Tefi's
Yeah,
mom.
you know what I mean? Like, there was this movie with J-Lo and Robert Redford on Netflix, and my mom came to visit me. I think I was moving and she came and helped me move. And we were in bed together and we left. And I had to leave for an appointment. And she was like, I'm gonna keep watching the movie. And I was like, okay, rude. And she's watching the movie and she's texts me and she's like, call me after your meeting. And I said, okay. And I called her. I'm like, hey, I'm on my way back. She's like, I finished the movie. And she's like, J-Lo in this movie, she was in an abusive relationship. My mom was like, Robert Redford asked J-Lo why she stayed with a man that hit her. And she said, I know that he was bad, but I didn't think I could do better. And I was quiet. And she was like, did you hear me? She stayed with somebody that she knew she was better than, but she didn't think that she could do better. And I was like, I heard you, mother. I'm like on 6th Avenue. Like, I cannot cry right now. But she was like, and we're watching, she's like, and we watch her and we're like, she is so kind. She's so generous. She loves her daughter. She deserves the world. But it doesn't matter because she didn't think that she could do better than a man who beat the fuck out of her. And I think about that all the time, you
When you
know?
think about it, because I think that that idea does not discriminate between women with confidence or without. It's not
No.
this. It's not the lack of confidence that spurs that.
Mm-mm.
Like, there's women I've interviewed offline, like they're powerhouses, and they tell me about these like horrible relationships he's been in where men steal money from them, like things you would never think of.
Mhm.
What gets us there?
I mean, love is hopeful. You always love, the person that you feel like they're loading to be. You know what I mean? There's a person that
Loading.
they are the person that you fell in love with is rarely the person that you end up with. It's just hopefully love grows together as you guys discover each other,
Mm.
but it's rare, especially when you're with insecure men, or an insecure partner. Of
Yes.
course.
I think heartbreak's like a really important part of love. So I have a
Heartbreak is
few rapid.
temporary. It's temporary. That's the thing that fucks you up,
Yeah, when you're in it, you don't feel like it is.
and it's very temporary.
So I have a few rapid fire questions for you.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, a movie you put on when you're sad.
The holiday.
The worst betrayal is.
The worst betrayal is, um, omission.
Mm,
Mhm.
omission is a sneaky form of a lie, I think.
I hate a person that lives on technicalities. I
Yes.
technically wasn't disrespectful, I technically didn't lie. And I was like, "Well, you're technically a coward."
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah.
A celebrity couple that you like, that you're
Uh,
rooting for.
Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell,
Love it.
forever.
Grand romantic gesture, intimate romantic moment.
I'm a Leo moon. I need I need both.
Both. Me too. When
Need
I
both.
read that, I was like, yeah, same, both.
Yeah.
Um, your favorite date spot in New York.
My favorite date spot in New York, Central Park. I'm
Beautiful.
pretty, I love an outdoorsy picnic moment, but we have to be near the bathrooms. Bathrooms have to be, like, in eye distance, please don't make me do that. I have a very weak bladder, I can't piss myself in the bushes, second date. You know what I mean?
Especially if we're drinking wine.
Like, please.
What's something that you see in yourself that you haven't shown the world yet?
Um, I think maybe how mean I can be. I can be really
Ooh, show us.
Well, people are like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm a big sister. I can
Mhm.
get creative." You know what I mean? But I can definitely be vengeful. I can be vengeful. It's not something I'm proud of, but it is something where, like, I'm not gonna let you walk around. I'm always gonna get my lick back. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean by that.
I also feel like that's Miami of you.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, no, I mean it in the best way. A quality that you always look for in a friend.
Inclusion. Like, if we're with other people and there's an inside joke and you turn to me like, "It's funny because I like that."
I like
All my
that too.
friends have that right now, yeah.
A book that changed your life, something you think
Okay.
everyone should read.
Fantastic Mr. Fox. It's my first chapter book. I have, like, 13 different, versions of it. I love that book so much. It was my first, like, chapter book. I was, like, 7 years old, and I think I've read it, like, a million times. I just love that character. I love solution-based thinking. You know what I mean?
I agree. Have you ever thought about becoming a therapist? Like, does it like,
Every day of my life.
yeah, you
Every day of
like
my
think about it
life.
in your mind.
I
Um,
just wanna be able to not get involved, and I think that's where that stops. I would love to be like a teacher, like a professor of something. Like, I'd love to, like, teach something, and that way I can get a little bit more involved, but, like, a therapist can't, like, like, you can't hug your clients, like,
yeah,
unless they invite, like, I would be like to bosom,
come
you know?
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, card game, 52 questions.
Okay.
So because we're virtual, just tell me when to stop.
Stop. Mhm.
What expert do you want lessons from?
What expert do I want lessons from?
Mhm.
There are a couple people that I have in my mind. One is,
Mhm.
Rita Moreno, who's, like,
You
an
want to learn
icon.
how to be an EGOT?
I I just feel like she was, around in Hollywood where I'm sure a lot happened, and there's a Latin point of view that I really, look for, you know what I mean? And, Michelle LaVaughn Robinson Obama,
Mhm.
I love her a lot, and I would love to talk to Salma Hayek for a while. I feel like she's just someone that tells you like it is, you know what I mean?
I
And
agree.
she's brave enough to do it.
Whatever comes to your mind first, the smartest decision you've ever made.
The smartest decision I've ever made was to um, go to that audition. The reason I'm on TikTok is because I went to this audition for YouTube. This company was like starting a um their own like channels. They were looking for talent, and I was a receptionist. I was like 28. And I wasn't an actress. I'd never done anything, and everybody that was going were like food critics and bloggers and podcasters, and I was just a receptionist. And I went, and out of like 100 people, I'm the only one that got the job. So I think that's the smartest thing I ever did, was like, I think you could do that. Or people love to make things so complicated, like
So
the training
cool.
of it, the broadcast journalism of it, like the speech, how you talk or whatever. But there's an it for people that people look for, and I think it's like Zendaya has it. I'm not saying that I have that, but I think I know how to make people feel comfortable,
You
and I
do.
knew that I could do it. I knew that I could do it, and I just wasn't gonna let people technicality me my way out of thinking that way. So I think that's the smartest thing I ever did, was like bet on myself that one time. And once you win that bet, you know what I mean? You're just like, "What if I did this?" So if it wasn't for that, I would have never uploaded my first TikTok. If I didn't if I wasn't like, "Let's roll the dice.
Mhm.
One more time, you did well the first time," you know?
It's, you listen to the whisper, whatever was right here.
The whisper? Oh,
Yeah,
I call it my weeping willow, like in Pocahontas.
I like that.
Well, because I was a Disney girl,
Yeah,
and that was like the nicest fucking tree anyone's ever fucking seen. So I think sometimes, not sometimes, every week I go and I visit teenage me in our childhood bedroom, and I tell her what we did that week.
you do?
Yeah. And
Like,
sometimes
actively? It's like a
yes. Yes, actively. Actively, I sit and I make time for it and I
that's
pretend.
really cool.
And, sometimes at the end of it, she'll be like, "Are we happy?" And I know that if I say no, then she's gonna be like, "Then what the fuck is the point of me going through all that shit for?" Because she hasn't done it yet.
Mhm.
Like telling somebody what a racetrack is, what a marathon's gonna look like, you know, like the uphills, the downhills, whatever. So I have to make it worthwhile for her to keep going, because she's been dreaming about me her whole life. She like what I'm doing now, she's been thinking about her whole life, you know? So I think that's something too where I carry 15-year-old me around with me. So when it comes to the audition, I can hear her say, like, fuck it, who cares?
There it is.